You're listening to the Bear Down Chicago podcast with Logan Bradley, Ryan Dangle, Patrick Sheldon, Brendan Shagrew, and Jack Wright. The Bear Down Chicago podcast. Yeah, we're that Bears podcast.
All right, folks, welcome into another edition the Bear Down Chicago podcast, breaking down yet another loss to the Green Bay Packers. As you can hear it, folks, I am sick. Even though I didn't see Jack for a while, I think I got the thing that he had. He sounds fantastic. We're going to bring him on in just a second. And Patrick Sheldon is also with us. Folks, I am just going to give a disclaimer, especially to our audio-only listeners, and especially those of you that are not on Twitter. Normally, we are a family-ish podcast. I know that several of my friends told me that they listen to the podcast in their car with their kids, maybe on the way to school or something like that. This is not the episode to listen to. I am sure there's going to be a lot of profanity. So, Mike, if Ben is listening in the car right now, it's time to turn off the podcast, because I'm going to say the word fuck a lot. Let's bring on Patrick Sheldon. Patrick Sheldon, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, buddy. Yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. And before we get too far down the road, I just want to say, Jack, I love you, buddy. And I will always love you regardless of how this show turns out.
Jack will get a chance to say something too. I just because when we were the BDR podcast, Patrick Sheldon got us these 6 sick Yeti mugs, and I am drinking hot tea out of it. Buddy, that's to you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Cheers to you, my friend. Let's bring on, if you want to follow Patrick Sheldon on Twitter, it's at @P_Shells. Brendan Shagrew could not be with us tonight. He is really, really, really bummed about it, but you know, he'll be with us as soon as he can. Let's bring Jack Wright to the stage with us. If you want to follow Jack on Twitter, it's at BearDownJack. Bro, you look tan-er, but not as tan as maybe you should be, considering you were just in the Caribbean.
I have very sensitive skin, you know, Ryan, and it's supple. So I make sure to apply copious amounts of sunscreen. As I've said before, this doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of careful planning. And so, you know, I don't want the sun just to just ruin it. So, you know, no matter how I light this, it always just gets like to the point where it blinds people. And I'm wearing a white jersey, and you're like, you can't really tell the difference between Dangle's face and the Justin Fields jersey.
But SPF infinity for you guys.
We were seriously worried that my first child was going to blind the doctor upon arrival. So yeah. Yeah, we've already got some good chat going. Kiwi Bear. If I'm not mistaken, English born, living in New Zealand, Bear fan. I might be getting that all wrong, but I think that's the case. Hanging out with us live. That's freaking awesome. All right, boys, let's do this. Let's thank some wonderful sponsors. And let's share some goodwill as best we possibly can before, you know, things probably go a little bit south. But we're all going to be friends. We're all going to be friends, even when we say the word fuck. Okay?
Deal.
Deal. And if you want to get a haircut like me, I went on Friday, saw our good friend Will at Sheridan's Barbershop, which is located in downtown historic Wheaton, Illinois, and they've been serving the community for 69 years. With 6 barbers, they're open 6 days a week. You can book appointments Monday through Saturday. They have appointments available to book online or by phone at your convenience. You can go online, as I said, or call them on the phone. It's sheridansbarbershop.com or 630-668-0137. Ryan, wait till you see, if you ever decide to go back to the Naperville studio, Hensel's in Naperville. They did a bunch of demolition, and the place already looks better. So you could also go to their new digs in Naperville, Hensel's Barbershop, which is located, as I said, I think I must have just said Naperville about 1,000 times, sorry. But it's located in Naperville since 1966. They have 6 barbers. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. They're accepting walk-ins, or you can make an appointment. For that one, you can go to henselsbarbershop.com. And just remember, both at Sheridan's and at Hensel's, it's where traditional meets modern.
So for those that don't know, I live in the South, and there are a lot of things I love about living in the South. One of the things I hate are all the chain restaurants. There's tons of them down here. The South has never met a chain restaurant it doesn't like. And I miss the privately owned mom and pop places like Miskatonic Brewery. Our friends over at Miskatonic Brewery recently opened a tap room and craft kitchen in Naperville. They serve up global cuisine and homemade fare, in addition to the Darien-based company's beloved craft beers and cocktails. Menu ingredients are sourced from farms located right there in the Midwest. Their house-made sausages are a spotlight from their Republican alum head chef. Wine and zero-proof cocktails are also available. Miskatonic Brewing Craft Kitchen is now open at 47 East Chicago Avenue, Tuesday through Sunday. Go check out their thoughtful fare and welcoming staff. I can't recommend this place enough. If you are hungry this evening or anytime in the near future, please check out our friends at Miskatonic Brewery.
Miskatonic beer is freaking phenomenal. I don't really love stouts, but been there, had their stout. It's like oh man, tiramisu stout. And, like something about a stout like that mixes the like uber sweet, but it's a stout. So it like comes together and it's not like overpowering. Phenomenal. Had the food. Dude, their chicken shawarma is out of this freaking world. It is so, so, so good. They've got an awesome kids menu. You can't go wrong. Miskatonic Brewing. Please check them out. Either their Darien or Naperville locations. And just one last time, the owner, Josh, couldn't be a better guy. And it's nice to support good people that do good things. All right, boys. So Brennan is not here to break down the Bears game for us. So let's just do overall thoughts on the game, just kind of where you're at. I know this is not going to be super easy, but just overall thoughts on the game. Let's go. Shells, Jack, and I will finish it up.
So in the legal profession, we have a principle of law, that is res ipsa loquitur, which translates to the thing speaks for itself. And the definition of this principle is that the mere occurrence of an accident suggests negligence. So the accident being caused in and of itself suggests that somebody was negligent. This train wreck, this absolute train wreck of a game, speaks for itself. If you come out of this game tonight drawing any other conclusion, then there needs to be a full house cleaning tomorrow of Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy. I don't know what to tell you. If you have that opinion that they should still, either one of them should be brought back next year, you are ignoring a ton of evidence to the contrary. You're ignoring the fact that in 2 games against their biggest rivals, they came out completely flat and unprepared and got annihilated. You're ignoring the fact that Matt Eberflus, again, decided to take his best defensive players off the field in a critical 3rd down, a mistake that he makes time and time and time again. Repeats the same mistakes over and over again. You're also ignoring the fact that Luke Getsy has failed to demonstrate at any point in his tenure as Bears offensive coordinator that he can adjust to the defense and adjust his game plan accordingly. After his first 15 scripted plays of either half, he is completely useless. You're also ignoring the fact that the Bears' recent little, I don't know if you call it a win streak, but their performance recently that has so many Bears fans optimistic includes a win against a 2-13 Carolina team where they scored 16 total points, a win against, and mind you, whose team later fired their head coach, a win against the 3-12 Arizona Cardinals, a win against the 4-11 Washington Commanders, who are likely going to fire their head coach, a win against the Josh Dobbs-led Minnesota team, where the Bears scored 0 offensive touchdowns, 0 touchdowns at all, and a win against the Brian Hoyer-led Las Vegas Raiders that also fired their head coach not too long after that game. So if you dig into the nuance and the reality, and you get past all of the superficial noise and crap, I don't know how you draw any other conclusion than the fact that this head coach and offensive coordinator need to be gone no later than tomorrow morning.
The Bears aren't there yet. In the second year of a rebuild, they're not the team that the Green Bay Packers are. The Green Bay Packers have a tradition and pedigree of doing things right, and it's not like this was a matchup between two equal teams or two equal franchises. The Green Bay Packers offensive line dominated the game. The Bears' offensive line is still piecemeal. Backup center Davis went out, I think, in the first half. Rookie right tackle, quarterback who just really hasn't proven himself yet, honestly, and an offensive coordinator that's gun shy. I mean, so from the top down, the Green Bay Packers are better. They were better tonight. The Bears kept the game close. It was within a score the entire game. I'm just looking forward to the offseason. I mean, we got picks and we've got money. We've got free agency. And I think the arrow still is pointing up for the Bears in a lot of ways. They are acquiring talent, and sooner or later, I hope they're going to acquire enough talent and begin to do things correctly, similarly to the Green Bay Packers, so that we don't continue to lose to the Green Bay Packers, because, man, it just kicks all of us in the nubbins when we lose to the Green Bay Packers. We're tired of it, without question.
Go ahead, Shells. I know you wanted to throw something in there.
I just wonder when we're going to start holding this head coach accountable for the team that is on the field, right? We constantly talk about rebuild and how they're not there yet. And I agree with you, Jack. They are trending upwards, but I'm afraid that the talent that they're going to have to accumulate is going to have to be so good that they win despite their head coach. We just watched last night a Houston Texans team in the second year of their rebuild with a rookie quarterback get a playoff berth. We watched them compete on the road against an Indianapolis Colts team in the second year of their rebuild with a backup quarterback also competing for a playoff spot. And yet we're sitting here in the second year of our rebuild, continuing to make excuses for a roster that I would argue is probably as talented, if not more talented, than both of those teams. So at what point do we have to hold this head coach accountable for the product and the players that he does have, and the fact that he's not getting the most out of them? Because I'm afraid that while they are trending upwards, Jack, I feel like Matt Eberflus is the governor on this golf cart. And unless we overwhelm him with talent, our ceiling is always going to be capped and limited by his incompetence.
I'm not sure if Eberflus is the correct guy to be the head coach of the Bears going forward. I'm just not ready to lay all the blame on his footsteps like you guys are. The bottom line is, in the third and fourth quarter, when the Bears need to generate offense, they can't do it. And there's a very specific reason why they can't do it, and that has very little to do with Matt Eberflus. I mean, almost nothing to do with Matt Eberflus. But again, they got a backup center that I think they basically acquired mid-season, and that backup center was the backup to the backup center. So, Ryan, you've said a lot of times we need a center. We had a left guard who was injured most of the year. Tevin Jenkins had a really bad game. We've got one major weapon on the field, that's DJ Moore. Cole Kmet has had a nice year, but if any decent team decides to lock down DJ Moore or Cole Kmet, there's not a lot of options. When we need to drive the ball down the field and score points in a close game, like today's close game, we're not capable of doing it, partially because of the talent that's not on the field, and partially because we have an offensive coordinator who doesn't have any type of dynamic, aggressive scheming of any sort that would enable us to be able to score. And I know what you're going to say. I mean, yeah, he's under Matt Eberflus. I get that. Again,
that's not at all what I was going to say.
That's not what I was going to say either.
Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
The fourth quarter, there's 4 minutes left. The defense has to stop a team from going, was it 90+ yards? They couldn't do it. They went through him like Swiss cheese. He got graded, bro. His defense, and I just dropped a bro. I can't believe I'm that guy, but I am that guy. Jordan Love, 27 for 32, 316 yards, 11 a pop, 2 tutties. That's a 128.6 quarterback rating. Aaron Jones, 22 rushes, 111 yards, 5 yards a pop for supposedly the best rush defense in the NFL. Dude, they cheese graded, right? They shredded the Bears defense, and they shredded the Bears defense when it mattered the most. You know what? Finally, they get Green Bay to the spot where it was 3rd and 9 or 4th and 9, whatever it was. It's right before the 2-minute warning or right after the 2-minute warning. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I think it's 2nd and 9. What do? Aaron Jones right up the gut, 11, 12 yards, and seals the deal. Green Bay goes to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They annihilated Matt Eberflus's defense today. The score may not say so, but the yards will tell you otherwise. They self-imploded, which is why they didn't score anything in the second half, right? Tyreek Stevenson had himself a game today. Unbelievable play from that kid. The more I think about this team's rise, I think it is much more clear that it has everything to do with Ryan Poles and much less to do with Matt Eberflus. Now, Jack, I know what you're saying is that I'm throwing everything at Matt Eberflus. No, I'm not. Luke Getsy, that dude has no business being an offensive coordinator. Is no business, right? If they run it back with Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus and make no wholesale changes in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be hard to watch next year, right? Yeah. I mean, he was abysmal. Every time it's 3rd down, guess what? They're going to blitz. Bro, throw a slant. And the one time it was like, maybe he caught it. Maybe he didn't, right? We don't really know, right? But it's like, oh my gosh, they threw a slant against blitz and they picked up a 1st down. Like, oh my God, it's a revelation. Like I
know Jack's going to jump in. I want you to respond, Jack. But one of the things I want you to respond to, I want your honest opinion. Do you think that the defensive approach today was the same defensive approach in terms of aggressiveness that we've seen from Matt Eberflus over the last few weeks? Do you think that he was as aggressive today as he's been in the past or as he needed to be? Because I saw a completely different strategy. I saw a team that let Jordan Love sit back there in the pocket all day and did not get 1 ounce of pressure on him. I saw, in my opinion, a coach that was coaching scared and coaching conservatively from a defensive perspective. So I'm not even going to, I'm not going to put the offense on him today. I'm going to talk about what I think he did wrong today. And I thought he called a terrible game as the defensive coordinator.
The Green Bay Packers average upwards of 24 points a game, and they scored 17 today. 17 points in the NFL ought to be enough to win a football game. You're right, Ryan. There was a clear domination of the offense, but in some ways, like they played a bend, don't break. They had a really nice series, especially prior to the half, where the Green Bay Packers could have scored before the half and then double dipped, of course, because the Bears chose the ball right out of the gate, and they didn't. And that was pretty impressive, actually. I saw a Green Bay offensive line that controlled our defensive line, a defensive line that when we see creates pressure, allows for the 4-3 defense to work. And when it doesn't, we saw several games prior to the last 5 or 6 where the secondary just gets carved up. Why is that? It could be scheme, possibly. Shells, I wouldn't just totally discount that. But I just think ultimately you've got a better defensive line, but you still just don't have the dogs on the field that you need. I still think we're so narrow-minded when it comes to our Chicago Bears, all of us, because what we don't, I think, fully realize is when we look at the Eagles and we look at the Bills and we look at the Cowboys, they have elite players all over the field. Sure. And not to mention that our Pro Bowler was out today. Our safety is negligible. He's a liability. We've got Billings. We've got Billings inside. I mean, Billings, he's good. He's not great. I mean, so I don't know. Like I had them winning 8 games. They won 7 this year, guys. Like it's second year of the rebuild.
We're not talking about competing on the level of the Eagles or the Bills or other teams with Pro Bowl players. We're talking about competing against another team with a very similar record. And the scoreboard, I get the 17 points, but they also missed 2 field goals and a touchdown that the guy probably should have caught. So you can tack on another 13 points there. I think the scoreboard, somebody said in the chat, was very kind to us, but that game was dominated by the Packers. So I'm not comparing them or holding them to the standard of playing like the Buffalo Bills or the Eagles or the Ravens. Of course not. That would be unfair. I just want to see them play up to their competition, which in this case was, in my opinion, an evenly matched team, and they got outclassed.
It's
and at what point?
It's just
Excuse
not,
me?
Patrick. It's just not.
But
I mean,
there-
Jordan Love's a better quarterback. Matt LaFleur is a more established head coach, an offensive coordinator. They've had 3 straight good quarterbacks. They know how to do it. They set their rookie quarterback behind their Hall of Fame quarterbacks. They've only had 3 coaches. They know how to draft. They have good GMs. They have good ownership. There's nothing about this matchup that was even. Nothing.
But their win-loss record would suggest otherwise, as well as the fact is that the Green Bay Packers have the youngest roster in the entire NFL, meaning that they have insane inexperience, which definitely showed itself several times throughout the game, right? Like that was clear. Like they self-imploded a few times, right? But Matt Eberflus had a game plan that just had Luke Getsy as well as Matt Eberflus. Sorry, Matt LaFleur had a game plan that had our Matt and our Luke just going, wait, what's going on? What's just spinning us around in circles? Jack, is a genuine question. Okay, so Montez Sweat gets that tackle for a loss close to the end zone. So now it's 2nd and 13. They're inside the 5-yard line, 4-yard line. Do you know what I'm talking about in the game?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the linebackers back up considerably, giving a bubble, allowing for Jordan Love to dump off to his tight end, uncontested in any way, shape, or form. He then pushes forward for another 2 to 3 yards. And then they continue to play back. I am really trying to understand, like, the pressure just worked. Why would you back off from that in that situation? Like, I'm not saying like sell out, send everybody close because you got nothing in the back, but like, your linebackers, like, I don't, please explain that to me.
No, I can't defend that. I mean, I think you said it, and I think Tony Romo said it as well. And I really did trust and believe in Romo in that particular situation. Just as somebody who has played quarterback at a high level, he was like, I don't like that decision in that particular instance. I would have, I think he's viewing it as if he were a quarterback and what would pressure him and make him uncomfortable. And so I really, there's nothing that I can rebut on that particular one. I don't know why that choice was made. And obviously it didn't work.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, that a lot of people commenting on that on Twitter that had me scratching my head. And then again, for that second touchdown, taking your best defensive players off the field, clearly the Bears missed Jalen Johnson. Like that is. So now that this question, this came up, it was a really, really good one too. It was Michael Braverman tweeted at me about this one. Can you really sign Jalen Johnson to a giant contract? He is lights out when he's available. But when is he available?
I don't know.
Yeah. How many games did he miss this year? I mean, outside of today, did he? 5?
Oh yeah, I think that's right.
Does that sound right?
He missed a good chunk of the season in the middle of the season. So maybe somebody in the comment section knows for us how many games Jalen Johnson missed this season. But it was significant, and it was quite telling in the second half of the season when they were on their run 4 out of 5 games, that it was that the defense played significantly better. I mean, he truly is one of the best corners in the league when he's healthy, but he's so rarely healthy. And so that's a tricky one. The Bears have a lot of decisions to make. I mean, obviously the big one being Justin Fields, the coaching staff. I think there's a lot of other guys that I think it's pretty clear and evident that they're not going to be back. Deonta Foreman being a healthy scratch. Darnell Mooney. I mean, I don't see any way that dude is back next year. I mean, is there anybody that I'm missing that you guys are really perplexed about seeing, coming back?
Eddie Jackson.
Eddie Jackson's got to be gone, right? Whitehair's got to be gone.
Who was the second one, Jack?
Eddie Jackson. Whitehair has got to be gone. Right?
Whitehair, yeah. Whitehair's gone. Patrick is gone.
Patrick's gone. But they're going to need to just continue to stack offensive linemen. I mean, they're, again, obviously not there yet. They really struggled with the twists and the eats and the slants that Green Bay presented. We've talked about it previously that we just need like layers of offensive linemen. Like Ryan gets hurt and he's our Pro Bowl center, and then Patrick comes in and he can, or he can slide over to guard if he needs to. Like we're better at O-line, but it's still a long way off, I think, don't you?
Offensive line today got exposed against a better team. I mean, I think I went from a couple weeks ago thinking, hey, we were just a center away, to now after today going, well, okay, we need a center. Is Nate Davis the guy? Is Braxton Jones the guy? So I came at it today maybe feeling like we have more holes on the offensive line than I thought heading into today's game. And that's no bueno. But center absolutely is the biggest priority on the offensive line heading into next year. It has to be, and it should have been this year. And Dangle, I know you've been banging that drum for a while, like the Houston Astros, clamoring for a center for a long, long time. And that weakness came back to bite us countless times this year.
I'm asking this as a genuine question too, boys. Justin Fields. Okay, so I mean, we just look at the numbers. He's 11 for 16, only getting an opportunity for 16 passes, 148 yards. That 13.5 a pop. He's sacked 5 times. So he ends up the game with a quarterback rating of 97.9, which is pretty awesome. But the fact that he only had an opportunity to throw 16 passes, Justin Fields holds the ball too long, but I don't think that was the case here. I don't think he had any time in which to throw it, nor did he have an outlet, because DJ Moore and Cole Kmet were really, truly his only like real receiving options. So DJ Moore, 4 receptions, Cole Kmet, 3 receptions, Equanimeous St. Brown, 1 reception, Khalil Herbert, 2, Tyler Scott, 1, and Robert Tonyan, 0 with 1 target. So, I mean, that really should tell you. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with Justin Fields. I don't know what they're going to do with Justin Fields. And I want to keep him. I want to bring him back because I love this dude. And I think that he's given everything that he can to Chicago. But part of me thinks it might be in his best interest to move on and go somewhere else. Give him a fresh start. Somewhere where an organization will really capitalize on his strengths and stop trying to pigeonhole him into something that he's not. And I'm just so fucking
You're 100%
frustrated.
right. You're 100% right. Because if you bring, I love Justin Fields. I mean, like, I love Justin Fields. He's one of my favorite athletes ever. He's up there for me with Jeter and Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant, and Don Mattingly is like some of my all-time favorite athletes. I love the kid. But if you're bringing him back, you have to bring back Eberflus and you have to bring back Luke Getsy, because you cannot give this kid his third offensive system or offensive coordinator, even if it's a similar system. You can't give this kid another offensive coordinator and expect him to hit the ground running next year. If you give him another OC, there are going to be growing pains and there are going to be bumps in the road and there's going to be an adjustment period. And what's the point of doing that if you think you're in a compete now, like win now mode? I just think it's unfair to that kid to give him a third offensive coordinator and expect him to hit the ground running next year. And so I agree with you. It's in his best interest. I think it's in everybody's best interest to let him go to a place that is going to accept him for who he is, to use him for the skills that he has, and take advantage of his insane athleticism and his just unique abilities. And if a team's not willing to do that, like a Lamar Jackson, then they need to get rid of him for his good, his own benefit, right? I just don't think you can bring him back and pair him with a new head coach or a new OC or both. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, you both make great points, and I really am back and forth on it. I guess the thing that I have considered a lot lately is that the potential for keeping him improves the overall team more so than moving him. Unless you can get a haul for him in a trade, I feel like the ability to keep him, he's good. He's not great. He's not bad. The ability to keep him gives us the ability to trade down. The ability to get us to trade down gives us the opportunity to acquire more assets. I mean, I think, you guys you're absolutely right. I think sadly the toothpaste is out of the tube when it comes to like, we've seen different models, right? Like CJ Stroud, he's an outlier. He goes on a team. He's kind of excellent right out of the gate. You look at Jordan Love, he sits behind a Hall of Famer and a really great organization, and now he's excelling. And then you look at us, it doesn't matter really how great the quarterback may or may not have been. It's not good broth. It's just not, it's never been good broth. It's not fair to whoever that is, whether it's Justin or whatever the name might be. So do we just roll that? Do we roll that back again with Caleb Williams or Drake May? I mean, I guess maybe I'm at a point now where I feel like he's good enough, and I hate to use the word placeholder, but he's in the system enough now, and he's been with the Bears. He provides enough leadership assets and athleticism that maybe a bird in the hand is worth two in the stone. And also, last thing, you just look at the hit rate on top 5 quarterbacks, and it's a crapshoot too, guys. I mean, there's no guarantee that if we get a top 5 quarterback that they're going to play like a top 5 quarterback.
I completely agree. Sorry, Dangle. I completely agree with you. I don't think, regardless of where you come down on the debate of whether you should bring Matty Eberflus back or Luke Getsy back or both of them back, I don't know how you can say bringing all 3 of them back is going to work next year. I just don't see that working to the level that Bears fans are going to want it to work. You may get the same thing you get this year. You may get some games where it clicks for Luke Getsy and it clicks for Justin Fields, and it all comes together. But I think those are going to be few and far between. I don't see this triumvirate working well together. I just don't see them coming back next year. Those 3 don't work well together. It's just whatever it is, Luke Getsy and Justin Fields are not simpatico, and bringing them back and running it back another year just doesn't make much sense.
Our good friends at Roar the Lions, go to sleep. It's like,
what are you doing?
It's like 3 o'clock in the morning in the UK. And you're right. Y'all couldn't keep the Packers out of the playoffs, could you? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to do this. This is going to make some people angry, and I'm sorry, but all right. I put out a poll basically asking what was going to happen in this game, right? Thinking I knew what the results are going to be. The early was, basically, was it going to be a close Bears win, a close Bears loss, a close Packers win, or a close or Packers dominant win, right? And 61% of Bears fans said that it was going to be a Bears win, which just, the early returns was like, it was overwhelming that Bears were going to win big. And I just I get hope. I get hope. I'm sitting there with, my Justin Fields jersey, my 3-month-old, she's got a Bears cheerleader outfit on. I'm holding her, right? You're going to be a Bears fan someday. This is going to happen, I'm hoping. I'm watching every single second. I'm nervous before the game starts, right? But I want to know, how the fuck, are Bears fans so confident going into this game when the Packers have dominated this series forever? We have not beat the Packers since 2018. That's a long ass time ago, boys.
Dangle, I alluded to it in my initial breakdown. I think people did not look past the superficial nature of those wins. People looked at, 6 of the last 8 or whatever it was, and they got excited. And, I got some criticism on Twitter when I tweeted out, hey, let's pump the brakes. Let's see them against a decent team, because here are the teams that they've beaten. Well, great. A win is a win. We need to put it in a context and not get ahead of ourselves and say, hey, they're ready to compete with even teams with a similar or same record. Because the teams that they've beaten up till this point are not what I would call very good or competitive teams. They've beaten terrible quarterbacks, or they've beaten terrible teams, or they've beaten coaches that have been fired this season, already. I think if you step back and you apply nuance, we like nuance here at the podcast, right? If you apply nuance to this debate and you dissect those wins, and we did this with the Vikings last year, right? They won all those games. But what do we come on here and say? We went, hey, this isn't sustainable. They win all these games by less than a score. That's not sustainable. We saw it, right? outsiders could see it, but I'm sure Vikings fans are like, oh, you guys are crazy. Bears fans are the same way. We see these wins and we go, oh, you guys are crazy. They're winning all these games. Well, outsiders are going, but wait a second. Like, who have you beaten? Let's just see how they do against another decent team. And they just looked overmatched today.
So I'm confused. They never had a chance, but they should have won.
They should have won today. I don't think they should have won. I'm giving a reason for why I think people were optimistic. Dangle asked why so many people thought the Bears were going to win, and I think that's why. I think people looked at their performance against terrible teams and said this team is on the up and on the come up, and they weren't. I didn't think they were going to win today.
But you guys, I feel like you're talking on both sides of your mouths. Earlier you made these strong cases about how the two teams were equally matched and that the Bears should have or could have won. But now I'm hearing you say
I think their coaches are terrible. I don't know how that's talking out of both sides of my mouth. I think this team is significantly handicapped by the incompetent fuckface that's on the sidelines coaching this team. Him and Luke Getsy. I cannot make it any more clear. From a talent perspective, they should have been more competitive in this game, 100%. The reason they're not competitive is because Luke Getsy is a shitty head coach, or Luke Getsy is a shitty offensive coordinator, and Matt Eberflus is a shitty head coach. I don't think that's talking out of both sides of my mouth. I think I couldn't be any more fucking clear about my feelings about that head coach and that offensive coordinator. From a talent perspective, they are not that far apart. Absolutely not. But you know what happened? They've got a coach who developed their quarterback this season into a very, very good, competent quarterback, and we have Luke fucking Getsy and Matt fucking Eberflus. That's why. That's why this game wasn't close today.
I like fired up Sheldon. I like him.
I'm just like,
I'll just say
I did not want to do this tonight. I did not want to do this, but it's just like we sit here and we excuse all of the shit that these guys do, and like it's everybody else's fault, but the people running the fucking team.
Well, I just want to be real clear. First of all, that as I said last week, and I've said previously, that I do think it takes a village. My only real where I go separate from you guys on this whole argument is that, again, I feel like I hear you constantly putting it at the feet of Eberflus, and you've been doing that for several weeks now. And the only point that I tried to make out of the gate was just to say, hey, let's take a little closer look at the fact that the roster's not overly good. Really, honestly, I know I keep harping on Eddie Jackson. He was terrible several games. He's lost us. He lost us the game today. Not solely, but he certainly didn't help us win the game. When given opportunities to help us win today, he crapped his pants. So my only point is it's all got to come together. It's all got to align, and we're far from it all aligning. And I don't. The only thing that I have tried to say is I just don't think that there's some clear and obvious Trustman situation here, or even Matt Nagy towards the end situation here. We've seen some elements of leadership. We've seen respect from the players towards him. We've seen improvement amongst many of the players on the team. And again, I'm not trying to carry water for him. I'm not saying he should necessarily be rehired. I am not saying any of those things. I'm just saying we're not there yet, but it's for a lot of reasons. And the other thing I've been trying to say time and time again is we've changed quarterbacks over and over again in the last 38 years. And we have changed head coaches over and over again. And we have changed offensive coordinators over and over again. And look at where we are. We're in the same freaking place. So what's happening now is what you said earlier, Ryan, and what I fully agree with is that it's in Poles' hands. And I feel pretty good about the Warren and Poles combination and the way in which we have seen individual players with a higher level of talent be added to this team. We have never fully drastically addressed the roster. Green Bay has a knack for drafting and making their roster good. And then they couple that with really great coaches who are experts at what they do in terms of strategy and game planning. So we need both. We need both. It's not just all flus. And in terms of your question, and I'll be quiet because I'm talking for a long time, I just let myself be emotionally invested in this game. I don't know why. I just really wanted it. And it was stupid, honestly. I wasn't blindly hoping. I just thought if they play a great game, they've got some momentum. A lot of like turnovers would have had to happen. We needed somebody to make big plays like Stevenson did. We just didn't get enough of those. I mean, Fields made no big plays. The only chance we would have had in Green Bay against a team we've lost 9 in a row to was, something amazing would have had to happen. Nothing amazing happened. It just didn't.
Again, we talk about the tear down. Do you guys remember why we had the number 1 pick last year?
Because we were the worst team in football.
Yeah, but why did we end up getting the number 1 pick versus the number 2 or number 3 or number 4 pick?
The Houston Texans. Thanks, Lovey Smith.
Well, who did the Houston Texans, the 3-13-1 Houston Texans, who did they play in that game where we ultimately got the number 1 pick?
Was it the Colts?
It was the Colts. It was the 4-12-1 Colts. Okay? Playing in the last game of the season that resulted in the Bears getting the top pick. So last year, the 4-12-1 Colts have a new quarterback who got hurt and a brand new rookie head coach, and they're playing for a playoff game yesterday. The 3-13-1 Houston Texans with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback are in the playoffs right now. And yet we're here apologizing and making excuses for Matt Eberflus when he's got a much more talented roster than both of those teams at this point. I just say what you want about the Packers, Jack, and them being light years ahead of us in terms of running a team and an organization. I don't know how you look at the Colts and the Texans and say with rookie head coaches, a rookie quarterback and a backup quarterback, and the rosters that they have, that they're significantly far ahead in their rebuild than us. And they were both playing for a playoff spot yesterday. Again, we have to start holding him more accountable for the fucking players he has on the team. The team is who it is. And we can't sing Poles' praises and talk about how good of a GM he is and bringing all these great draft picks and bringing all these great free agents. And then on the other, that's talking out of both sides of our mouth. And then saying in the other breath, like, oh, he just doesn't have the talent. Like he's got more talent than the Colts and the Texans. So why haven't they performed? Why haven't they won these games?
I will fully admit to Jack's point. It is holistic. It is not. And I'm down on Matt Eberflus. That doesn't mean I'm blind to seeing other holes in this team, Jack. And I hope you've seen that, right? I've admitted this several, like Eddie Jackson. At one point, the missed tackle dead to rights, and you didn't did you even touch him? Did you touch him? I don't know if you did. Every single time, he never goes for the tackle. He goes for the ball. And guess what? He's unsuccessful at it. So what would you say you do here, right? There's absolutely nothing. I think Terrell Smith got replaced by Jalen Jones at one point. I may be mistaken by that. Maybe it was an injury that I'm unaware of. I was holding an infant throughout almost the entire game. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but he was really, really bad. The linebackers, TJ Edwards missed a couple times. I mean, I know he's had a phenomenal season and I've been very, very happy with him. Truly I have been, but he had not a great game. Almost our entire defensive line looked overmatched throughout the entire game. Offensive line, terrible, atrocious. And we've said this multiple times, outside of Cole Kmet and DJ Moore, there is nobody worth anything keeping it as in terms of a pass catcher. All of those guys can go away. And honestly, I was like, Khalil Herbert. Meh. If he's gone next year, oh well. I'm fine with that. Keep Roshan. But
yeah, I don't know about Herbert. He's been hurt. I want to see him fully healthy. I mean, he looked really good before he got hurt. Really good. He was awesome. Deontay Foreman was awesome too. When Herbert was out.
I don't understand. He looked awesome. There's another coaching decision, whether that be Getsy, whether that be Flus, a really good player that put up really good numbers that's sitting on the bench. That one I don't get. This is a question I think that we've been kind of dancing around just a little bit. Kiwi Bear, it's not all in Flus, but you can easily upgrade it head coach. So why not do it? I think it was a couple weeks ago I said something similar along the lines of, if they fired Matt Eberflus, which I don't know what they're going to do. I don't pretend to know what they're going to do, but let's just say that they did it. and they brought in an offensive-minded coach, I do believe that they could get a competent defensive coordinator who could in some ways build upon the good things that Matt Eberflus has done. He has done some good stuff, Shells. I know you know that. I know you would admit that.
Absolutely.
Right? Defensively, he has done some actually, Shells. What good things do you want to say about Matt Eberflus? So Jack
Ryan and I were texting about that very topic today. There are things that I think Matt Eberflus does well. None of them are in the realm of being a head coach, but I think from a defensive standpoint, he's very good. He's a very good defensive coordinator. He was a very good defensive coordinator in Indianapolis. He's a very good defensive coordinator here. He could continue to be. Maybe the fact that he's acting as the defensive coordinator because the defensive coordinator he hired got fired is clouding his judgment that he doesn't realize that Montez Sweat isn't on the field in a critical third down, right? But I give him credit for he's a player's coach, right? He obviously connects and relates to his players, and they seem to like him. He's a very good defensive coordinator, right? I think he's a nice, genuine guy. I just don't think some people just don't have what it takes to run the entire show, right? I think if like we in the military, we got the nugs, right? That just go out and you give them an assigned task and they can knock it out of the park. But the more strategic thinkers and planners, right? Those are fewer and far between. So I don't think Flus has the capability to do the whole thing. I think if you give him the responsibility of being a defensive coordinator, I think he'll knock it out of the park. I think he's very good in that regard. So there are things that I think he does well that add value to the team. I just think he handicaps them significantly as the head coach. And, I'm sure you guys watched the Colts-Texans game. I got extremely jealous when I saw the staff of the Washington Commanders years ago with LaFleur, McDaniel, McVay, and, Bobby Slowick. And I'm like, every other assistant coach that they had up on that graphic has been a home run hire as a head coach. They've been phenomenal, right? Slowick is the only one on that graphic that has not been a head coach yet. And he may be available this offseason. He may also happen to have connections to the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bears. He may have done incredible work with a rookie quarterback out of Ohio State. I don't know. He's worth a look, right? Mike McDaniel wasn't even worth a look to this franchise. Can we at least give these guys a look, right? Can we at least change our process and try to be a competent organization and play with the big boys and do things the right way? To answer the question, why would you keep him? I think they talked about it on the broadcast tonight. Stability. I mean, that's what concerned me.
That makes sense.
They talked to Kevin Warren, and he said stability is important. Like that put a pit in my stomach. You don't just stick with continuity for continuity's sake. If you think it's building to something and leading to something, great. But if you think that you may be capped out at a certain level, and I think we will be capped out with Matt Eberflus, I think he could have maybe a Lovie Smith type career where he'll continue to fail to hire the right offensive mind, but every once in a while he'll have a 10, 11, 12 win season, and we'll get happy every 5 or 6 years, and then we'll have peaks and valleys. I don't want that anymore. I want sustained success. I want Jack. I want the Bills. I want the Eagles. I want the Chiefs. I want the Ravens. I want the organization that's run competently year in and year out, that doesn't just hope, is this the year? Is this year we peak? Is this year, we hit the valley? Is this I don't want that. I want sustained success where every season we go into it going, we've got a shot.
What's it look like for you guys? I mean, I'm really curious. I mean, what if we drew it up? We're just like 3 cooks in the kitchen here right now, making the Bears great and solving all the problems. We're firing all the entire coaching staff. Fields is out. We're hiring a new offensive-minded head coach, letting him bring in his DC and his OC and the rest of the coaches. We're taking either May or Williams first, and playing with that second side. What's that?
You let them decide. I just think that's the point. I just want the process to work the right way. I want you to bring in the offensive mind, and I want him, along with the GM, to say, this is the guy that we want. Not, let's get the guy, and then we'll bring in the GM, and then we'll ask the GM, we drafted this guy last year. Is he your guy? Can he be your guy? Do you like this guy? Okay, cool. You like this guy. All right, now here are some coaching options. What do you think of this guy? You like this guy? We like this guy. Do you think you might like this guy? This guy could be good, right? Like, okay, let's all get together and just kind of mush this shit sandwich together, and then we'll bring in this offensive coordinator who has worked with a quarterback whose skill set is so diametrically opposed to Justin Fields. It's got to work, right? It's just crazy enough to work. Like, I just want the process to be sound and sane, and I want the head coach to decide, this is who I want to be my quarterback.
And then Poles add some pieces, like legit pieces to the offense, like he has to the defense, and then maybe we're cooking with gas. I mean,
yeah. Like, why couldn't a rookie quarterback next year have the year that CJ Stroud had with the right head coach and the right OC?
I think Jack's point is he's an outlier, right? But even the thing is, if you have someone that is at Justin's level or better coming in as a rookie quarterback, that's pretty awesome. I mean, the thing is, Poles will need to continue to have more hits than he has had misses. He has definitely had misses. I mean, I don't think anyone is going to dispute that. But I think if he continues to have more hits than he's having misses, I really do want him to make the decisions, whatever those decisions might be. If Slowick is available, that gets me really excited. Just an offensive-minded coach. And then Jack, to answer your question, I would really hope that he would have the presence of mind to bring in a guy that, yeah, sure, that's his guy, but that's a 4-3 guy, because this team is set up right where its biggest stars, I think, are comfortable in the 4-3. I know we've been a 3-4 fairly recently, and I guess, you know, I know that a lot of these players are set up in a successful way in that 4-3 scheme, and it's a bigger flip to switch it around. However, I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that if Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus come back next season and we just run the whole thing back, I will be really upset. I will. I just, you know, I'm not asking for wholesale, like everyone's got to go, but there has to be some change. Like this ain't it. How would you feel if everybody came back? How would you feel about that?
You know, again, I don't know as if I think I would be like mid, you know, as some of the kids say, because again, I am placing more stock in Poles' decision and the roster rebuild. And as I said, you know, in previous weeks, where I don't think maybe that like Flus or Fields or Getsy, you know, any of those guys are the answers. I see it like from a perspective of like maybe eventually we get this roster in place to like an elite level of competition, and then coaching changes get made. But let's get the roster taken care of, and maybe I could even make a case that some of that continuity might help the Bears in the long run, even though that may make you throw up in your mouth, and I get that. Again, I'm not committed to this. I'm just I'm bouncing ideas off here with you guys.
So that's
what might be the best situation.
Just really quick.
Yeah.
Like, so that's like the Tony Dungy to John Gruden in Tampa 2002. Like, that's kind of where you're at. Dungy built the thing up and made it pretty spectacular, and Gruden just kind of rode the coattails and pushed it over the hump, so to speak.
Or I've used the Joe Madden, you know, comp before too, with the Cubs. Once they finally got that roster together, they were like, okay, now we need a World Series caliber head coach, you know. So, you know, that might be flawed. I would maybe need to think about it. Maybe Shells, I'm sure you see some flaws in that approach.
Well, no, I in fairness, Jack, I don't know that I saw that as your argument, and I understand that now. I'm more amenable to that as a possibility than I was when I thought your argument was, you know, let's keep Flus around for a bit. But I guess what I would say to that is, I think the head coach in football is way more impactful than the manager in baseball. And I understand the Madden comp, but like, I think alignment is so important when you're developing a scheme, right? Like, baseball for the most part is baseball, but if you're a head coach and your fingerprints and your DNA are all over that team from a scheme perspective and a philosophy perspective and a, you know, whatever perspective, like, that takes a while to undo. And so I would love for the Bears to hit this stride. Like, I think they're on the come up if they could get the right coaching staff in place. I want them all to be in line so that they all crescendo together, right? Like, I don't want them to build up the talent and then like their window opens like immediately. And then they have to bring in a coach who now has to undo all the stuff that the last coach did and quickly build them up because their playoff window is open immediately. Like, I want them all to hit their stride in unison. So we're all coming together. We hit our playoff window and we take off, right? Like, that's in an ideal world. That's how it works in my mind.
I was just going to mention really quickly, you mentioned, I was thinking a little bit now that we've had some time for this to marinate a bit. It as tough as Pohl's job is, I think, in rebuilding this roster, and I think in as much as he's done a good job, I guess, like, to be fair, I mean, you think about it, like, you look back and I think there was a little bit of desperation to try to find a wide receiver. And in two instances, it didn't work out, right? Claypool and Velus Jones. And you just think even about like those two particular picks and the way that those could have been leveraged and how even that little twist, would make this team a little bit better. It's like, man, his job is freaking tough. Yeah. And when he makes like little decisions like that don't end up working out, that's unfortunate, isn't it? Because I get it. If I'm in his shoes, I want assets for Fields. I want some weapons, some tools. Well, let me try Claypool. Yeah, major bust. let me try this athletic, receiver out of Tennessee. Yeah, like, didn't really work out, right? So that's too bad, isn't it? It's.
I'm giving Jack huge props as the captain of the Velus Jones Jr. fan club to finally admit that, hey, that experiment did not work out the way that you were hoping. Hey, awesome dude. Truly, yeah. Every interview that I've seen with him, he is a phenomenal young man, but Jack, props to you, buddy. Props to you.
This is not the playmaker we hoped he would be, and especially not in a way that we thought would help Fields. So that's obvious to everybody, right? I mean,
yeah. You bring up a good point, Jack. And I think this is where Poles deserves a lot of credit. I think maybe it's early. Maybe this will be a hot take that I'll get roasted for later, but I think he's our best talent evaluator GM that we've had for a long time. Like many years, right? And
is that in contention? And like, who would argue that?
Oh, I'm sure somebody will, especially if he busts his next draft, he takes Caleb Williams and Caleb Williams busts, like, turns into a Jamarcus Russell. I'm sure, but I think as of right now, I think as a talent evaluator, he's great. The other thing that I like about him, Jack, to your point, like that Claypool trade could have sent him into a shell, and he took a chance on Sweat. And made another bold trade with a second round pick, and this one worked out, right? But like, as a GM, you kind of have to have a short memory, like a 3-point shooter. You got to kind of forget and flush the last game. If it was poor, you still got to take those chances. And I like that about Poles, that he wasn't scared and didn't shy away from making another big move, even though he thought it was the right move, right? So, if he gets his chance to pick another quarterback, I'm optimistic, because I think as a talent evaluator, I can't say that tonight, I think he's outstanding. So let's give him a chance to see what he can do.
If Matt Eberflus gets the axe tomorrow, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's just say that it does happen, Jack, is there a coach that you would be genuinely very excited about?
I've got to be honest, guys. No, I don't. Because I've not spent any time profiling other potential, options. And I don't notice the media besides Harbaugh or Ben Johnson talking a whole lot about any other coaches. And let's face it, I don't watch every Detroit Lions game. I don't know exactly like if Ben Johnson is the reason that the Lions have been so proficient offensively. They've also had their struggles. But we all know how it goes. Like, some names get tossed around as being the next great thing, and they're not always the next great thing. So, like, to be honest, like, there's nobody in my mind out of the gate that I would just be like, this is a no-brainer. Shift from that guy to that guy. And I think I'm a little bit with Shells. I just don't see the McCaskies having the wherewithal of pulling off a Harbaugh deal.
No,
I just
no.
don't. Like,
sorry, I can't remember if it was Bernstein or Lauren. It's somebody on 670 The Score, so I apologize for not attributing it correctly. But somebody said, like, they have not hired a strong personality since Ditka. Like, since Ditka left, it's almost like they went, oh shit, never again. We're never going to have a guy like that who blows smoke in your face and tells you exactly the way it is. And you look at our coaches, they are all very clean cut, proper, never curse in public kind of guys. And I mean, not that Harbaugh is a, curse in public kind of guy, but he's more rough around the edges. He's more direct. He's more abrupt. He's not the mold of the Chicago Bears coach that we've seen the McCaskies hire. So I mean, you guys know I'm not the biggest Harbaugh fan. I would take Harbaugh over Eberflus tomorrow. I just don't see it happening.
It's interesting to say that Chris Ballard, I know when interviewing for the GM position, I heard several reports saying that he basically told the Bears organization, hey, this ain't working. What you guys are doing isn't working. And they didn't like that. Bruce Arians, very much the same way, which instead they hired Mark freaking Trestman. Oh my God. Still, I'm not angry about that. There is one other thing I want to talk specifically about the game. And then I think that's it. I don't really think I want to talk about this game much anymore, unless you guys really want to talk about this game. Justin Fields, getting hit by Owens. Now, it seems like Owens kind of turned his body to try to not hit Justin Fields in the head. But in so doing so, hitting him in the shoulder made his head ricochet off of the ground. And while the ref is right there watching it happen, realizing that Justin Fields, maybe sure, his shoulder didn't exactly hit his head, forced his head into the ground yet again, right? No flag was called. Now, I'll give it to Matt Eberflus. This is the first time I saw him actually yelling at the officials passionately, right? Because, and I know like he's probably putting in requests, but that shit ain't working, right? Mm-hmm. Every week, we had our friends from Roar of the Lions, one in particular, Steve Collins. He sent me a message. He goes, wait, why wasn't that a flag on Justin Fields? I'm like, bro, every fucking week. And that's not an exaggeration. That's not a like, oh my God, Bears fans like, whoa is no, that dude gets hit in his head every single week and they never call it. And it is absurd. And the fact that there are officials that can look people in the eye and say, oh, I watched it and it was a clean hit. You need to get your fucking eyes checked and you need to get fired. There need to be repercussions because you're now taking that dude's career and maybe possibly shortening it up. I'm furious. And I don't understand. Like, and I'm watching people outside the Bears organization, outside of Chicago media now that are like tweeting at the NFL and NFL officiating. Why is it you go 17 games where he constantly gets hit in the head and no flags are called? I cannot wrap my head around it. I can't.
Yeah.
Somebody should put a compilation together because it would be so blatantly obvious, especially to see the plays back to back to back to back. The dude's probably going to get fined. I would be surprised if he doesn't get fined for that hit. And I've said it before. I think in all the ways that the offense has the NFL has a great brand and knows exactly what it's doing in terms of selling its product and staying relevant year around. It's bullshitting everybody to say that it wants to try to protect players and like reduce head injuries. They are absolutely bullshitting, paying lip service to it because you either do or you don't. And when it comes to him, you're right, Ryan. They have just chosen not to. And why that is, I don't know. Because we've seen what CTE does, and we know the types of effects and impacts, both short-term and long-term, that those types of head injuries cause. And if a quarterback is sliding, then everywhere else, usually in the league, you see a dude pull up and put his hands like this up in the air and do everything they can to avoid contact. That dude was not trying to avoid contact. No. You're right. He may have been trying to ish at the end, make it look like he wasn't targeting him, but no, I mean, it should have been a penalty, like 7 days a week, twice on Sunday.
I don't like saying it, but it was dirty. It was dirty. It was a dirty hit.
I'll state a fact here, and I'll let folks draw their own conclusions. But the 4 players that I've seen that consistently never got those calls: Michael Vick, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Fields.
I saw somebody suggest something similar in one of my threads, and I'm not. There could be something to that. Some folks have said that a lot of the backups, because there's been so many backups around the league, got smashed up pretty good today. I didn't personally see that, but I mean,
Tyler Heineke in the last fucking game asked for the flag and got it.
Oh, God.
How does Tyler Heineke command more respect for those kinds of calls than Justin Fields when he gets murdered on a weekly basis? Yep. Like what's the difference?
Wherever he goes, which again, I am thrilled if Justin Fields is back next year with a better offensive line and more receiving options than Cole Kmet and DJ Moore. Like two isn't enough. Like he needs, like Tyler Scott, not a promising rookie season. Like I'm not totally giving up on him yet, but he sure doesn't look like he's going to pan out very, very well at all. Equanimeous St. Brown, aside from one catch and a couple decent blocks, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Right? Like there's nobody on this team that is respected in any way, shape, or form as a pass catcher. So he needs to have those, right? But if he goes to the Raiders, he goes wherever he goes, like I wish that dude nothing but the best. He has been a class act from start to finish, and hopefully the NFL can get its head out of its ass and protect that dude because he deserves to be protected. Boys, before we get to things that we missed, anything that we might have missed, I'm just going to give one last thank you. We're not going to do the outhouse and the penthouse. I don't think there's any reason to go back to talk about this game in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to just say thank you to Jeff Cadwallader. Jeff Cadwallader has been a sponsor of this show since its very, very beginning. He reached out to me. He was my realtor. He's my friend. And he said, hey, I love what you guys are doing. I think you're really good at it, and I want to support you. And Jeff, like, man, that it means a lot to us. There are so many Bears podcasts that are out there, so many places to get your Bears content. And, Jeff said, hey, I believe in you guys. I want to see you do what you're doing. So I'm telling you folks that if you are thinking about buying or selling your home, if you are into commercial properties, whether that be, just something you're investing in, or you are saying, hey, you know what? I want to finally open that business that I've been thinking about. You've got to reach out to Jeff Cadwallader. SVN Landmark. He's the best. 630-254-4734. Shoot him a text. Shoot him a text right now. Just say, hey, thanks for sponsoring the Bear Down Chicago podcast. Hey, I'm a little bit curious about this real estate. Visit GenevaJeff.com. See what he's got going on. If you do talk to Jeff, if you do go to Miskatonic, if you do get your haircut at Hensel's or Sheridan's, let him know the guys at the Bear Down Chicago podcast said hello. We would appreciate it and they would appreciate it. Boys, anything that we missed? Shells, Jack, and I'll finish it up.
2 quick things. You mentioned one of them. Tyreek Stevenson played a phenomenal game. I am so excited to see him next season. He has had just a tremendous rookie season. So kudos to him. And then I being the last regular season game, last episode of the regular season, I want to give kudos to Cole Kmet. That was an amazing catch, and I got to give props where they're due. And that was one heck of a catch by Cole Kmet.
Yeah, no, I'm still a little stunned by that. Admission.
Wait. So he got Cole, you got Bayless. Yeah. What do I need to own up to? What have I?
Well, that's a good question, Ryan.
Compliment Trenton Gill right now, Jack. He had 2 punts inside the 10-yard line.
I know he did. And you know what else he's been doing? And I'm not sure why. Maybe you guys heard why. He's been kicking off. And like, aside for that squib kick, he's like been smashing it through the end zone all of a sudden. Like, what's that? I don't know. I didn't hear why
saw that video of Drake May punting, and I think he got nervous. He's like, I better get my shit together.
Maybe. The dude looks like a wash rag. I don't know if he's ever lifted a weight in his life. I think I don't have anything specifically tangible to add, so I'll shoot it to you, Ryan.
This one hurt. I don't know how else to say it. We had a lot of Green Bay fans that pop into the chat. I do think it's really, really interesting. So they've won 9 straight, whatever. We haven't won since 2018. We played the Lions twice. No Lions fans came in to talk shit. No Vikings fans came in to talk shit for any one of those games. But every time we record about Green Bay fans go out of their way to search Bears podcasts and try to make comments to try to ruffle our feathers. Man, I think there's something to that, man. That's good. That's a good choice for you. Good on you, Green Bay. I would like to beat that team. I would like to get this back to a rivalry because it's not a rivalry now, and that part it hurts your heart a little bit. I also want to say this as a programming note. We are going to be taking some time off. Obviously, if there are some changes that are coming up, I would really, really doubt the Bears to be swift in their changes because they're never swift in their changes. They tend to drag their feet and take as long as possible, usually taking far too long and missing out on opportunities. So if there is an offensive coordinator that they really, really want, and they fire Luke Getsy, they'll wait too long to hire the right one because they got to follow the process and make sure it's the right one. But let's just say something, Ryan Poles does change things, does go about and make things different. We will have a podcast. We will cover it. But otherwise, I know I'm speaking for all of us. We want to spend some time with our families. We want to be away from it a little bit. And I think we've been arguing far too what's the right way to say it? Real, like in real life, like arguing. And I think a little bit of time away is going to be good for us. So pods are going to be coming much more sporadically. We're not going to be doing the every Sunday night thing like we have been, which I know I'm going to miss, boys. Like this was a special one. I'm really wishing that Brendan couldn't be here, but 'tis the season for everybody to be sick. It's time to get to shout outs, boys, unless again, anything else that we want to chat about. Sheldon, Jack, and I will finish it up. Shout outs, boys.
I'll just echo what you said. Thank you to all of our followers and our listeners and supporters and folks that have joined us throughout the season. We can't thank you enough. It's been awesome. I mean, the turnout tonight was terrific. I hope you enjoyed the show. Shout out to you guys. You guys know I text you all the time how much I love coming on here and chopping it up with you guys and talking Bears football, whether it's on the pod or via our text string. So thank you. I will miss it, but I look forward to getting together again for our next episode. In terms of my more formal shout outs, I'm going to show off my shirt here. If you can see that, this was a Christmas present from my wonderful wife. An amazing shirt here from People's Garment Company. They are a Chicago-based company. They got some awesome stuff. I just went out earlier and checked out their website. They got really cool stuff. They don't appear to have a very recent Twitter presence. They are at PPLS Garment, but if you go to their website at peoplesgarmentco.com, check out their stuff. It's like one of the most comfortable shirts. It's very soft. It is not form-fitting, which is good for me, but it's a really nice, soft, comfortable shirt. I love it. They are not a sponsor of ours, so I am saying this honestly and truthfully. I love this shirt. So I wanted to give them a shout out because they do have nice stuff. And then I want to, you guys know I'm into sports cards. I love sports cards. If for those that are looking for a really good breaker, Wow PA Sports Cards. I found them recently. They're really cool guys. They are not like the over the top outlandish breakers that you see. So they are at Wow PA Sports Cards on Twitter. So go give them a follow. And then my last shout out, just not to get like serious, but to Justin Fields. Like I said it earlier, I love this kid. And I just want to, if this is his last game in a Chicago Bear uniform, I want to say thank you. I want to say, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed watching you during your career here. All that you gave the city of Chicago, both on and off the field. You were the consummate professional, despite the circumstances not being in your favor at any point in your career. You never once complained. You never once blamed anybody. You kept everything in perspective. And I think that's something that we can all learn from. I know this kid will be successful no matter what he does because he's got a great head on his shoulders. And as I said, I think he keeps the game in perspective and understands his priorities in life and what's important. And I think that plays a large role in his personality and just the person he is, on the field around his friends. And it's no surprise that the guys in that locker room absolutely love him and go to war with him every week and support him in the way that they do, very publicly, to the media. So it speaks testaments, I think, to him and his character. And it'll suck if he is not under center next year for the Chicago Bears. For me personally, right? I just, everything he's given to this city and this organization, despite maybe what the organization has not given to him in terms of the infrastructure to set him up for success. I can't commend him enough for what a professional he is and what a great kid. I think we got to remember that these guys are still kids to some extent, right? But just so mature beyond his years and a great representative of the Chicago Bears for his career. So while I hope he's back next year, if this is it, Justin, thank you. And I'll be following your career and wish you the best of luck no matter where you go, buddy.
I remember when I first started doing this with you guys, you had been doing it longer, like being in the Bears community, being on Twitter, podcast, the whole thing. And I remember like that there had been some sort of a shakeup right before we all got together where, several podcasts or groups, organizations had these like fallouts and, everybody kind of had gone their different ways. And I was just thinking a little bit about that, like in the last couple of days, because it makes me extra appreciative of this. I mean, this is mostly fun. There's no doubt about it, but it's also a lot of work and tough to keep together sometimes. Not like this isn't like woe is me. We choose to do this, but like in terms of logistics and guests and technology and, getting, advertisements and, personalities and keeping everybody together. I mean, you guys, you know how it goes in life or in any business or any situation. There can be difficulties. And so I'm especially appreciative that the Bear Down Chicago podcast has been a thing for so long. Heck, we even went through a shift, right, from BDR to this. And yet here we are. And all the while, the team hasn't been very good. So I'm appreciative of, the guys that are in this group with me. And then also, we've said it before and we mean it, the people that listen. So a lot of bouquets to like the guys, that are here. Logan, absolutely crushing it, doing his thing, not with us as much, but like in terms of what he does for Fox and NFL betting or Fox betting, he's doing just a phenomenal job. Brendan with his appearances on, NBC Sports Chicago. He even did like a YouTube spot for them. His writing, he just continues to elevate in an amazing way. Ryan, you pull the show together. Like you're the glue, dude. Like you pull this whole show together. In terms of like, we don't have a production team or anything like that. Like we are the production team. You are the production team. So you run a great show, super smooth, super cohesive. People like to listen to it. That's a credit to you. Shells, you bring angles, you bring intelligence, you bring humor. You're like, if people don't follow you on Twitter, they're just plain idiots. It's fun. Like you make me laugh almost on a daily basis with something like the dude in the freaking in the pond at the Bass Pro Shop like that. I was just hilarious that I wouldn't get to partake in if I weren't, in some way, associated with you in this podcast. So bouquets to you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Jack, thank you for helping us increase our Twitter following. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but the BDCP, it's kind of blown up over the last couple of weeks, and it's been really cool to see this many more people hanging out with us later in on the episodes. Is greatly appreciated. Please don't sell yourself short. So folks, yeah, we love doing this. We absolutely love doing this. Before I forget, before I get into my shout outs, I know I wanted to put this up here. So this is the URL for anyone that wanted to go to the card, the shop that Shells was talking about. So I'm going to keep it up there for you. And for any of our audio only listeners, come check out us on YouTube, watch live on Facebook, watch live on Twitter at any time that you want to. I'm so thankful to be able to do this and to have people that actually want to pay attention to it. Sometimes some of the things like you're like, hey, I'm just going to ask like a genuine question on Twitter, and people call you names and say really terrible things about you. You go, why are you the way that you are? But it's truly, it's been so much fun to be able to do this. And so we're kind of wrapping up the second season of doing this podcast together. And as the boys said, it's a lot of work, but we absolutely love doing it. I've got to give some shout outs. The first one is to Bears and Espanol. Like, I am stoked to talk to those guys at some point, because we talk to Bears fans all over the world, but and we know we talked to Heidi. Man, we love Heidi. But to talk to those guys, I know they're going to be guests on our show in a little bit. We've had some awesome back and forth, and I am just always just incredibly maybe jealous isn't the right word. As someone who studied Japanese for 4 years, and I still I can't tweet in Japanese. Like, that's not going to happen. And just to be able to go back and forth and doing all that stuff. I'm very excited to talk to those guys. Big Dave in the UK and all of the other 26Ks. You guys know who you are. So that's Dave, Derek, Daniel, Noel, Ozzy, Ant, just making me laugh all the time and supporting. I know Anthony Morrissey was just here hanging out with us, boys. He lives in Sweden, and it was like 3:00 in the morning, and he was staying up just to hang out with us for a little bit. So seriously, Ant, that means a lot. And the last one goes to someone we don't do a very good job of. Beats by Blackie Chan. He does our intro music. He does our outro music. He does Brendan's breakdowns. And so Beats by Blackie Chan, he's so good. He's so talented. He's such a wonderful dude. And he's a supporter of the show. So we're very thankful for him. So folks, here's the deal. We just want to say thank you one last time. Just again, last programming note, we are going to be sporadic. You might see us in 2 days, or you might not see us for 3 weeks. We're not exactly sure. We're going to kind of wait to see how things go. And so just appreciate all of you. I know you can get your Bears content anywhere. You can help us out big time, especially going into the off season. We've got great content coming to you. We're going to have lots of awesome guests. We had Sarah freaking Spain last week. How awesome was that? Shells, you missed a good one. And I know you wanted to be there.
I know, brother. It did not work out. I don't think you guys wanted to see my 3 kids on the pod. So you barely want to see me on the pod. You certainly don't want to see them.
Sarah Spain was amazing. We've got some other really phenomenal guests that are lined up that we're very, very excited to talk to this off season. So you can help us out. You can hit like, you can hit subscribe, you can share with a friend, you can hit us with a 5-star review. All of those things help to help us out and help this thing going. For all of us here at the Bear Down Chicago podcast, so that's Logan Bradley, Brendan Shagrew, Patrick Sheldon, Jack Wright. I'm Ryan Dangle. Folks, thank you so very much. And as always, Bear down, Chicago.